with regards to discarding evil, the 4 methods or the 4 ways that the Holy Quran goes about to do that is through chastity, honesty, and refraining from physical pain. And then the last one, or the 4th one, was courtesy and good work. But one of them I'll just read out, was Masih Maud writes with regards to chastity. And he presents 5 remedies against unchastity. And he says, in these verses, God Almighty has not only set forth excellent teaching for acquiring the quality of chastity, but has furnished man with 5 remedies against unchastity. These are to restrain one's eyes from gazing on those who are outside the prohibited degrees, to restrain one's ears from listening to their voices and to description of their good looks, to avoid occasions which might furnish incitement towards this vice, and to control oneself during the period of celibacy through fasting, dieting, etc. So now, so I'm saying now we can see that from the first kind of verses that the Quran, which were quoted by or referred to by Quddus, were relating to our social behavior. Now we have seen how they relate to our moral behavior of how to do good and how to discard evil. So how we can see how the Holy Quran very maps out that way for us to improve or progress through those 3 states.
It's not unnatural, it just doesn't immediately say that you have to be spiritual, but it says that this is your lowest stage, this is the middle stage, and this is the highest stage, and you have to go, like everything else in our way, we have to progress. It's a similar way. This is the same argument that Jesus is presenting as well.
Absolutely. I think in the points that you were mentioning about how in morality, there are certain aspects of, I think the 5 points that you mentioned, one of them being to lower your gazes. And under that, the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned how the book of, and he mentioned, I'll quote it, the book of God does not aim at keeping women in seclusion like prisoners. And this is very contemporary, especially in today's day. The book of God does not aim at keeping women in seclusion like prisoners. This is the concept of those who are not acquainted with the correct pattern of Islamic ways. The purpose of these regulations is to restrain men and women from letting their eyes to rove freely and from displaying their good looks and beauties. For therein lies the good of both men and of women. It should be remembered that to restrain one's looks and to direct them only towards observing that which is permissible is described in Arabic by the expression ghadh basar, which is the expression employed in the Holy Quran in this context. It does not behove a pious person who desires to keep his heart pure that he should lift his eyes freely in every direction like an animal. And then he further goes on to say that this is the quality which is called chastity in Islam. So, the morals that humans can or have the capacity to express in their day-to-day lives, it's not necessarily a great achievement on the part of a human being that he has achieved that rank, because the Prophet constantly reminds us that animals can attain the same sort of, a tamed animal can attain the same sort of a rank. There has to be a sort of distinction.